Tala Moana, ya filthy exiles, and welcome to an overview of my Pathfinder Mirage Archer Toxic Rain gas arrow build for Rise of the Abyssals. So as of the making of this video, I am currently in tier 3 maps. I just made endgame somewhere around level 71. So the idea of this build is firstly to take advantage of the Pathfinder nodes that lets us double our poisons and combine this with Mirage Archer. I am playing Gas Arrow. That's my favorite skill on the bow, poison all day, every day. So basically we're shooting down gas all over the place, then we pop Mirage Archer, and the Mirage just rains down pastures over and over again. We keep those ticks going, those poison stacks up to par, like 10 stacks, which is actually crazy. And pair this with Plague Bearer and we just have damage. Gas Arrow and Plague Bearer are enough to clear maps and take care of mobs, but just having that Mirage Archer just adds another layer of damage and it just feels good. And come on, the skill is cool as shit to use. That's more than enough for me. So keep in mind, this is not a build guide. Like I said, I've just hit maps, tier 3 maps. It's basically just an overview to give you guys an idea of what I want my build to be, how it should work and how it should function. When I fully optimize this build and it's like fully online, because we're missing some uniques, Voltaic Rift, bro, that finna go hard on this build. So when I have all that up, I will update you guys on the status of this build. Okay, so let's first talk about Gas Arrow. I won't spend a lot of time on this skill. I think we are familiar with how Gas Arrow works. What I love about this skill obviously is the AoE, and even if you don't actually hit the opponent with the arrow, if they walk into the gas, it still counts as though you've hit them. The damage that they take is based off of the initial hit of that arrow. We're also using multi-shot on this skill, which means that that's an instant 3 stacks of poison because we're using 3 arrows. If you have the +1 to poison stack support gem, instant 4 arrows as well. So this is why I really love Gas Arrow. Pretty strong for clear as well, just in general. The other thing that makes Gas Arrow so good is the use of Toxic Growth. With the way it's changed right now, very easily spammable. It's so easy to use with Gas Arrow as well. So Toxic Growth shoots out 8 pustules that do damage once you poison them. Now they can do damage on their own, but when poisoned they absorb poison and deal damage based off of that particular poison, which makes them pretty good to use with Gas Arrow. So shoot your Gas Arrow and then shoot your Toxic Growth afterwards. Something to note is there's a limitation to how many pustules you can have on the ground at a time. It's always going to be 8 with some additional pustules when you add quality to the gem. So you can't just shoot down your Gas Arrow and then spam Toxic Growth. No, you can only have 8 at a time, which kind of sucks. And I tried overabundance on this gem as well, and it doesn't actually work as I thought it would be. I thought we'd have like 16 pustules on the ground, bro, but it doesn't work like that. With overabundance, you can only have like an additional pasture, which is just not worth it. However, with Mirage Archer, we can actually have 16 pastures at a time because the pastures of the Mirage Archer and your pastures don't count as the same pastures. Now, what do I mean by this? So when I shoot out my own Toxic Growth on the ground and there are 8 pastures on the ground, if my Mirage Archer also shoots their Toxic Growth, both of our Toxic Growth will coexist on the ground until they expire. So this is why this combo is so good. And Mirage Archer just shoots the pustules over and over and over again, has a very, very fast attack speed. You can actually add rapid attack as well to increase that attack speed, which makes it amazing. Like, it's so good. So with Mirage Archer, it actually works the same as well. When you shoot, when the Mirage shoots pustules, it can only 8 can exist at a time. So no matter how fast it shoots, only 8 will exist, which is kind of a downside. But with you on the side shooting your own pustules alongside the Mirage as well, it actually does some pretty good damage. So this is the combo I'm going for. It allows us to keep the 10 stacks of poison. Remember, we get double amount of poison stacks from the node of the Pathfinder Ascendancy. So this is what makes this combo pretty good. Does some really good damage. So talking a bit more about Mirage Archer, now when I first used this skill, it did not seem very good. I think early game it's not that great because it doesn't last that long and it costs 60 spirit. Like 60 spirit for how long it lasts early game is just not worth it in my opinion. So you use it when you have at least maybe above 100 spirit, right? Is when you pick up Mirage Archer, add some increased duration, upgrades quality, it always increases the duration of the Mirage itself. So late game it becomes pretty worth it. Another thing annoying about this skill is the fact that dodge rolling actually increases its cooldown. So Mirage Archer is always activated when you dodge roll, and then when it's on cooldown, whenever you dodge roll again, it resets that cooldown. So basically you have to manage how often you dodge roll when mapping and when fighting bosses, because if you're fighting mobs that are like super fast or bosses that just attack continuously, you won't actually have the time to summon the Mirage Archer as many times as you want. So keep that in mind. It actually takes some skill to use this skill, so it's not that easy to use. Keep that in mind. But I love it and I've made it work throughout the campaign. I've used it against almost every boss and it's carried me throughout up until the end game where we are right now. So that's basically the idea behind gas arrow, your own toxic domain, as well as your own toxic growth, as well as a Mirage Archer's toxic growth as well. Additional skills include Vine Arrow for additional dot damage. Honestly, this skill is pretty good early game but falls off late game. So late game it won't be worth it to build it for damage, just build it for quality of life like Font of Rage, Font of Mana, that sort of thing, but it's still additional damage because it's more damage over time. I'm trying out Toxic Domain, which I don't think is actually good with Gas Arrow and Toxic Growth, because Toxic Domain adds a pass shot to your arrows whenever you shoot out arrows whilst in the buff basically. So I think it's made more so for Poison Burst Arrow rather than Gas Arrow and Toxic Growth. So if you're playing Gas Arrow, I don't think it's worth actually using Toxic Domain, but I will experiment more with this skill later on. I'm using Despair, of course, for reducing enemy chaos resistance. Of course, Poison is chaos damage over time, so Despair is good with poison builds. I'm also using Plague Bearer, one of the strongest skills in the game in general. The amount of damage this thing can do is insane. Gas Arrow actually builds up a lot of Plague Bearer. You can easily build up Plague Bearer from like one Gas Arrow shots alongside the mob. That's why earlier in the video I said Gas Arrow and Plague Bearer is more than enough to clear mobs on the map. This is the build I had last league. Just Gas Arrow, Plague Bearer, Gas Arrow, Plague Bearer. It's enough to clear maps, but that Mirage Archer just adds more damage against uniques and bosses in general. So Plague Bearer, very strong skill. Try to prioritize this skill, especially in terms of quality in endgame. Don't use it early game. You don't build up enough poison until you get a bunch of notes on the tree, but late game try to prioritize upgrading that Plague Bearer. Then I'm also using Blasphemy with Temporal Chains as well. Temporal Chain slows down enemies and it allows ailments to last longer on enemies, and of course poison is an ailment, so our poison lasts longer on enemies. Remember, increased poison duration is a DPS increase for poison builds. The more damage you have on the enemy, the more damage they take. So Temporal Chains is very good for poison builds as well. I'll probably mess around with like weapon swap for these curses, but we'll see. Like I said, build is just getting online. So in terms of skills, that's what I'm running right now. So far so good. It's been smooth sailing. You can talk about my gear, but like, yeah boys, all this will be replaced soon, so just take it with a grain of salt. Don't take it too seriously. The only piece I might not replace are the Snakebite Plague Finger Gloves. Of course, gives us that free +1 stack, poison stack. So this one I might not replace, but everything else is going to get replaced. My bow, my quiver, everything. But you can check out my gear here. And of course, my stats are not that great. This is pretty normal. It's early in the league, but I will focus on evasion rating, pure evasion rating with deflection. So This 48% increased evasion rating is not going to be like the final, obviously. We probably need to get to like 90 tops, 95 if possible, to max out that deflection as well. My resistances, of course, need to be improved. Everything will level up, guys. This is early into the build in terms of end game as well. Look at the passive nodes. Of course, we're playing Pathfinder. I have got the free Herald of Plague. By the way, if you didn't know, Pathfinder gives you free Herald of Plague at slightly reduced range in terms of how it can spread amongst enemies. 1.5, I believe Herald of Plague is actually 2 meters. This is 1.5. Then we also got this double poison stacks as well. I will probably get my third set of ascendancy points later tonight. The tree as well will change. This is not the final build. I'll probably go crit, but right now I'm focusing more so on just attack damage, increase physical damage, projectile damage, grabbing all the poison nodes, grabbing all the evasion rating nodes, deflection nodes I can get my hands on to. But all in all, this will change later on, obviously. Then I will update you guys when I feel like the build is fully done. I have a lot of stuff. There's a lot I need to change on this build. So that's basically it, guys. A quick overview of my build. Like, this build has been so smooth throughout the campaign. I died a few number of times against like the interlude 2 boss Admiri. Dude, that boss is insane. But other than that, it's been smooth sailing throughout the campaign. I won't spoil you anything because I know most of you haven't yet still played through the campaign. But all in all, the build has been good. I really wanted to play Acidic Concoction. That was my reason for picking up Pathfinder. Of course, I do love Gas Arrow, but I really wanted to try out the new, Acidic Concoction skill. And man, oh man, the skill sucks ass. It's so bad. Like, it's meme worthy bad, bro. Like, it's so bad. So I was kind of bummed out, and then I tried out Mirage Archer and I was like, okay, I think it's a win-lose situation, but I'll take Mirage Archer over Acidic Concoction every day of the fucking week. It's pretty fun to use. And the idea, of course, is just like stacking up the stacks of poison, continuously bombarding the boss with, toxic rain. I keep on confusing the skill. Toxic growth, the pastures, right? Whilst the Mirage Archer is also spamming the pastures, placing down your cursors. That's basically the idea. Damage over time, tick damage is the idea of this build. It's not focused on like one big hit damage like Snipe. Although Plague Bearer is kind of like that one big hit you have with this build. And that's why I think I want to go crit as well, just to see the difference on how the build will hold up from crit. I did not build crit last league, and I kind of picked at like T4 Zest. I could not beat T4 Zest, so I'm going crit this time around and seeing how far I can go with Mirage Archer combined with Gas Arrow and Toxic Growth. So there you have it, boys. That's the build idea. Stay tuned for update when the build is fully online. I will post a mobalytics guide, all that jazz. Stay tuned, and if you're new, please do consider subscribing. I'm going all in some Path of Exile 2 content, and you do not want to miss that. I am a druid player, or a future druid player, and because there's no druid, I have to play other classes. And I'll be honest, Poison is my favorite build so far, at least in Path of Exile 2, before the druid drops. So expect a bunch of druid stuff when the bear is here. But all in all, Mirage Archer, pretty sick and my favorite class so far in the league. Thank you, boys. Subscribe, like, do the YouTube jazz, and take care, boys.